edition of Goblin Afterlife. First of all, if you would be so kind as to like this video, share this video, comment on this video, and of course subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not yet done so. I would appreciate all of those things. And if you would like to reach me for any reason, you can do so through my email, that is destinedgoblin@yahoo.com. I will do my best to respond to each and every one of those emails that you send me, and I will definitely take every suggestion that you make to heart. Okay, so as I said, welcome to the second episode of Goblin Afterlife, and if you decided to tune back in here, you obviously have some interest in the paranormal, or you have an interest in intellectual discussion, because I think that's probably what these segments are going to evolve into more than anything. It's probably going to be my musings and ramblings sometimes, if you will, about various topics involving the paranormal. So those of you that join me for these videos, again, I want to thank you for that. These really are going to be intended to spark discussion. So the more comments that you want to leave, the more emails that you want to send me on these things and open things up to discussion, that will be obviously the more the better. That's what I'm going for here, is really to try to spark some discussion here. And again, I do understand that this may not be for all of you out there, and that's perfectly fine. And if I don't get a lot of views on these, that's perfectly fine as well. I just kind of want to present some of my thoughts on some of these things, and hopefully get some feedback from all of you on that as well. The topic that I want to talk about today is the paranormal experience in general, and paranormal events in general. And the question that I have is, are paranormal events increasing? Because if you, and you can see this just looking at your TV guide. If you just look at the programming that is out there, there is a big section of programming dedicated to the paranormal, but also dedicated to personal experiences of the paranormal. So aside from your television shows and movies and that kind of a thing that are fictional, that are made up, you also get a lot of shows out there right now that are either dealing with personal experiences that people have had, and they're relating those experiences, or you get clips that people send in, and they show those clips and talk about those clips and try to figure out exactly what's going on. But if you, like I said, if you just look at your TV guide, you will see hours and hours and literally hundreds of shows like that right now that are on TV on all different networks. And so that got me starting to think, are paranormal experiences actually increasing? Or is there maybe something else going on, and are we just more aware of them right now? And I started thinking about that, and I started coming to the conclusion more and more that I don't think paranormal experiences are necessarily increasing right now. I think we're just more aware of them, and I think we're able to document them a lot easier than we ever were before, and I think there's a few reasons for that. Number one is the fact that we are literally 1 day's worth of travel, maybe a day and a half worth of travel from any other point on the entire globe. So no matter where you are, no matter where you're watching this video, literally in a day and a half worth of travel, you could be at the complete opposite point on the globe that quickly, because of the way that we can travel now, because of the way that we are able to get around. And I think that has led to the ability to be able to get certain news stories out a lot quicker, to be able to get experiences, if they're just passed on from one person to another, that in itself makes it easier to get those experiences out and to be able to talk about those experiences. Obviously, we also have different types of communication now. We all have phones. We all have cell phones. We can literally see what's happening on the opposite side of the globe at any moment just by looking at a device that we probably have in our pocket at all times throughout the day. So there's that as well. We can communicate these things a little bit easier. And then there's also the fact that we all now have access to something that we didn't always have access to before, and that is cameras. Again, talking about your phones, you've always got a camera with you. You always have your phone with you. You know that you always have that cell phone with you. You always have a camera with you. But on top of that, you also probably have cameras in your home that are recording experiences as well. I would bet that a lot of you, if not most of you out there, have security cameras in or around your home. You may even have those doorbell cameras. So even if you don't have security cameras, you probably have one of those doorbell cameras. And those things are constantly recording, and they're economical now. They're available to the general public. They're not just for that small population that could afford those kinds of things. Anybody can afford a full security system now, full security cameras. You can have all kinds of cameras all throughout your house and constantly recording things. So I think the opportunity to catch something is much more prevalent. And then just from a paranormal aspect, some of the tools that are employed are more economical as well, and they're available to the general public also. So I have a couple of examples here. So this is, those of you that are hunters out there, you might recognize this. This is a trail camera. And what this is used for is generally by hunters to stake out an area in the woods somewhere when they're getting ready to maybe monitor the area to see if deer go by there or something like that. These will run you around $100. You can get some cheap versions of this for less than $100. And you might be thinking, well, how is that useful? How is this going to help with something paranormal? Well, you may or may not know what cryptids are. Cryptids are basically animals that have not been discovered yet. Animals that may or may not exist, may be legendary animals. Things like, I'm specifically thinking here of Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, those kinds of things. So you put these cameras up all around the woods. They're waterproof, they're very hardy, and most of the time, like this one here, they have a motion sensor in them, so they only go off when there's motion sense nearby. So you set one of these things up, you can leave it for a week, a month, sometimes a year, go back to it later and see if you've caught anything on that camera. And like I said, now this is really available to the general public. And so, you know, it's very easy for just the average person to become a paranormal investigator if they want to. Another thing that I have here is this little device, and this might look like your average GoPro camera, but actually what this is, and this was a birthday present from my good friend Ben. So Ben, I would like to thank you again for this particular item right here. But this is a full spectrum camera. And what this does is this records in spectrums that are not available to the naked eye. So infrared, ultraviolet, this can detect all of those different wavelengths, different spectrums that the naked eye cannot, and that regular cameras cannot. So this is not your average GoPro here. This is a specialized tool for paranormal investigation, but this is now available to the general public as well. When I mentioned in the first video that I was one of the co-founders and one of the co-lead investigators in a paranormal research group called Out of the Shadows. And what we did was, when we investigated paranormal experiences, there's a couple of different ways that generally paranormal investigative groups will investigate. They will either go in attempting to prove an experience, or they will go in attempting to disprove the experience. We took a different approach, and we took an approach that I never saw any other group take, and to this day, I'm really not sure that any other group performs in this manner. But what we did was we tried to employ the scientific method. And so we went in without any expectations whatsoever. We let the data speak for itself. We gathered as much data as we could, and then we came up with some kind of conclusion based on the evidence that we had or the lack thereof. And that was how we came to our conclusions on our investigations. I can tell you from all of those investigations that there were many that we were able to kind of, I hate the word debunk, because I think it makes the person that's bringing forward the claim, it makes them sound like they're trying to pull something off or trying to intentionally be misleading about something. And a majority of time, the vast majority of time, I don't think that's what's happening. I think people are generally having experiences, genuinely, not generally, genuinely having experiences, and they may or may not know exactly what is going on, and it may or may not be paranormal, but I don't believe that the vast majority of times people are trying to pull something off or intentionally lie or anything like that. And then a lot of times those experiences do turn out to be what we would have to say is paranormal, because that the definition of paranormal in itself is sometimes used a little bit, it's misleading. I think a lot of times when you hear paranormal, you immediately think, oh, ghost, alien, cryptid, Bigfoot, whatever. Those things would probably fall under the heading of supernatural better than paranormal, because paranormal by definition is really beyond normal, above normal, beyond normal. And basically what that means is it's something outside of a normal experience that happens. So it may or may not be something supernatural in nature. It may simply be something that we either don't understand, don't have all the facts for at the moment, whatever. Many of those cases that we were on, we deemed as paranormal. A handful of them we deemed as supernatural. And then a handful, or a good majority of them probably, we deemed as really not having enough evidence to be able to say that there was really something that was going on. So as far as my beliefs of the paranormal and the supernatural, I have had experiences that I cannot explain. I have had some experiences that I would have to say were supernatural in nature. But I've had many of experiences of what I would say are paranormal in nature, just meaning that they are outside of a normal experience. So back to our question then, are paranormal experiences increasing? It's kind of along the same lines of that question that I often think about, and the question that I hear many times: are natural disasters increasing? Are weather phenomena increasing? Or is it simply that we're more aware of them right now? We're able to detect them better. We're able to report on them better. And is it the same frequency that it has always happened before? We're just more aware of them now. And I do think that that is what is happening with paranormal experiences right now. So you look out there, you look on your TV guide, as I said, you see all different types of paranormal shows out there, and shows about people that are having these experiences. And I don't think that they're occurring with any increased frequency now. I think it is simply more of a fact that we're able to detect them more. We're able to talk about them more. We're able to report on them more easily. We're able to share them with one another. It's easier to catch these things on camera. It's easier to show it to somebody. And it has also become, I think, a little bit less of a stigma as far as talking about them. So obviously in the past, somebody said, oh, I had a paranormal experience. I saw a ghost. That person was labeled whatever you want to call them, a crackpot, a whatever, crazy. Instantly, that was the label that was slapped on them. Now, it's a little bit easier to talk about these things. There's a little bit more acceptance of these things. And I think there's a little bit more willingness to get to the truth, what is behind these things too. So there are my thoughts on frequency of paranormal experiences. My personal belief is that the frequency that these things happen is still the same. I just think that we're catching them a little bit more now. I think that we are able to talk about them easier. We're able to communicate quicker about these things with each other, more openly as well. And we are able to see these things a little bit easier because of the cameras that are constantly around us right now. So there's another topic embedded in there, which I won't get into this time because that'll be a completely different rabbit hole that we would go down there, and this would probably easily double in length for this video. But that is the idea of are our cameras able to see things that we're not? And I do think that is happening also, and I think that is leading to some of these experiences also. But we'll deal with that another time. So there we go. Those are my thoughts. Again, these videos are really intended to spark a discussion and to convey some of my feelings on these things. So I would love to know what you think about that. Feel free, please leave a comment, send me an email, and I'll catch you next time.